I arrive before dusk because I've already learned what happens if I arrive after. The road into Gullglass narrows the way a throat narrows. Hedgerows rise, the sky lowers. The sea appears only in brief flashes through gaps in stone walls. Gray water, gray air, gray light, like the world has been rinsed of color and left damp. Even the birds sound cautious here, their calls clipped like they don't want to waste breath. The inn waits where the village thins out, a squat building with salt-scaled windows and a sign that reads Gullglass Inn, in letters repainted so many times they've lost their honesty. The lantern above the door flickers, not with wind, but with indecision. When I step inside, the air changes. It's warmer, but the warmth is old, trapped in timber and fabric. It smells of damp wool, cooled tea, and a faint medicinal bite that lands in the back of my throat. Camphor, something used to keep insects away from things that don't move. No one greets me. There's a bell on the counter, brass, tarnished, dented, as if somebody once struck it in anger. I don't ring it. I've stopped doing things simply because they're there to be done. A book lies open beside the bell, the guest book. I glance once, then again, slower, because the first glance can lie, and the second is where the truth starts to show. My name is written on the page, not printed, not typed, written, in my handwriting. The ink is dark and slightly glossy, like it hasn't fully dried. The date beside it is wrong, 3 days from now. Under the date, a room number has been added with neat certainty. 9. My breath catches. My lungs wait for permission to move again. A door behind the counter clicks open. Footsteps cross the back room, measured and careful, like each plank is known by name. A woman appears, older than I expected, hair pulled back tight enough to sharpen her face. Her eyes land on me, then drop to my hands. They pause. Because I'm holding a brass key. I hadn't realized I was holding it. At some point, I must have taken it out of my pocket, like a habit I don't remember learning. Her mouth tightens. "You brought that back," she says. "I found it," I tell her, because the words have to go somewhere. "No," she says softly, and the softness feels like a warning. "It found you." I wait for questions. Who I am, why I'm here, how long I'm staying. She asks none of them. Instead, she reaches under the counter and slides out a sheet of paper, folded twice. She sets it between me and the guest book, like she's trying to keep one from touching the other. "Read that," she says, "before you do anything else." I unfold the paper. The rules are typed in an old, uneven font, like the typewriter had a damaged key. Handwritten notes crowd the margins, small, cramped, as if whoever wrote them didn't want the page to overhear. Gullglass Inn, house rules, for your safety and ours. The first lines are ordinary enough. No smoking, no shouting after midnight. Return keys to the desk. Relief tries to creep in. Then I reach the rules that aren't about comfort. Rule, never sleep facing a mirror. Rule, if a new door appears, do not open it, count the hinges. Rule, if you hear your name twice, do not respond. Rule, do not sign anything while in Gullglass, not paper, not glass, not fog. The paper trembles slightly. Maybe that's my hands. Maybe it isn't. I look up. The innkeeper watches me like she's waiting to see which sentence I choke on. "What happens if I break them?" I ask. "It's not like breaking a rule in a house," she says. "It's like breaking a rule in a mouth." I don't fully understand, but my body recognizes the shape of the warning. I fold the paper carefully and pocket it as if it's fragile. She slides a different key toward me, plain, modern, with a plastic tag. Room 6. "Your room," she says. My eyes flick back to the guest book. My name, the future date, room 9. I touch the page with one fingertip. The ink smears, still wet. I bring my finger closer to my face. It smells like seawater. The innkeeper's voice drops. "Don't sign anything," she says again. "Not here, not anywhere in this village." "I didn't," I whisper. She gives me a look that says that is not the only way to sign. I take the room 6 key and move toward the stairs. Passing the fireplace, I notice the mantel lined with framed photographs, old ones. Faces stiff with formality, eyes too steady. Most of the glass is fogged from within. On more than one frame, scratches score the inside surface, as if someone once tried to get out. I climb. Each step complains under my weight, and the sound travels too far, down corridors I can't see. Upstairs, the hallway narrows and lengthens at the same time. Wallpaper has faded into a pattern that might once have been flowers, and now resembles stains. Doors line the corridor. I count them without meaning to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 doors. Room 6 is the 6th. I unlock it and step inside. Small room, bed, chair, washstand, wardrobe. A thin rug that smells of mildew. A window aimed toward the sea, but the glass is clouded with salt, so the view is only an idea of water beyond gray air. Then I see it, the mirror. It hangs opposite the bed, perfectly aligned so that if I lie down, my face will point directly at my own reflection. I remember the rule. I don't argue. I don't joke in my head. I cross the room, take a towel from the washstand, and drape it over the mirror. For a second, the fabric doesn't settle. It tenses as if something behind it doesn't want to be covered. Then it falls flat. I exhale. Not relief, just survival. I unpack almost nothing. I sit on the bed and listen to the inn. Buildings have sounds, the way living things have breathing. The Gullglass inn creaks, sighs, ticks. Pipes click in the walls with temperature changes that don't match the weather outside. Somewhere below, a door closes. Somewhere farther away, too far to be comfortable, I hear something that might be a laugh, or a cough, or the beginning of a song cut short. I check my phone. No signal. My fingers find the brass key again, heavy in my palm. Damp cold, no matter how long I hold it. The engraving seems clearer now, as if the letters have risen to the surface. The first door is yours. I put it away. Evening arrives fast, like a lid lowering. A knock sounds, one knock only. Then my door opens a crack, and a tray slides inside. Bread, cheese, tea that smells too strongly of herbs. "You should eat," the innkeeper says. My gaze flicks to the towel-covered mirror. "Does it?" I start. "It listens," she says, and closes the door before I can finish. "Eat, then lock your door." I eat because disobedience feels expensive here. The bread tastes of salt and old flour. The tea is bitter and numbs my tongue like clove oil. I drink anyway. I lock the door. I sit on the edge of the bed, keeping my eyes off the mirror out of habit. Even though it's covered, the towel is still. The room is still. At 11:48 p.m., the towel shifts. It doesn't fall. It shifts slowly, deliberately, like a hand behind it is adjusting for better coverage. I freeze. I don't move my eyes. I don't move my head. My heartbeat becomes loud enough I feel it in my teeth. The towel bulges once, gently, as if something behind it is pressing from the other side to test the fabric. At 12 o'clock and 1 minute a.m., the towel slips from the top edge. It falls cleanly, not like fabric falling, but like a curtain being drawn. The mirror is exposed. In the mirror, the room looks the same: bed, chair, washstand, window, and me, rigid on the mattress. But the door behind me is open in the reflection. I don't turn around. I don't need to. I can see reflected lamplight in the gap, and beyond it, a darkness thicker than ordinary shadow. In reality, I'm sure the door is closed. I locked it. I heard the latch. In the mirror, it's open anyway. Something moves through the reflected doorway. Too tall, too thin. Head tilted like it's listening to how I breathe. It doesn't step fully into the room. It stops just beyond the reflected threshold, as if it can't cross unless invited. Its mouth moves. No sound comes from the mirror, but words press into my thoughts like language transmitted by pressure rather than air. Use the key. My hand drifts toward my pocket, toward the brass key. I catch myself. I clamp my hand down on my thigh until it hurts. The figure smiles. Not wide, not theatrical. The smile of someone who's watched me do part of what they wanted. I close my eyes. When I open them, the reflected door is shut. The room looks normal. The mirror shows only me, sweat at my lip, eyes too wide, face turned toward a sheet of glass that suddenly feels less like an object and more like a wound. I stand and cover the mirror again, this time with the towel and the spare blanket. I tuck the fabric into the frame until my fingers ache. Then I leave my room. I don't stop to weigh the cost. I don't stop because I can't stand being in the same space as that mirror. The hallway is dim, lit by 2 wall lamps whose flames look too small for the darkness they're meant to hold back. I start toward the stairs, and the corridor seems to stretch. The doors feel farther apart. The air feels thicker. I pass doors 1 through 8. I reach the top of the stairs and grip the banister. The wood is cold, cold like iron left outside overnight. Halfway down, I stop. A soft scraping drifts from upstairs. Slow, steady, like a fingernail dragged along wood. It's coming from the hallway I just left. I turn and climb back up. The scraping continues, unbothered by my approach, as if it's meant to be heard. At the top, I stare down the corridor. The lamps flicker, not with wind. There is no wind here, but with a pulsing rhythm, like the building has a heartbeat. I count the doors again because counting feels like control. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I see it. A 9th door. It sits between 2 others, in a space where I know there was wallpaper before. The paint on it looks fresh, pale, wrong, too clean, too alive. It reflects the lamplight the way skin reflects light. A small brass plaque is fixed near the top. Room 9. The scraping comes from inside it. I remember the rule. If a new door appears, do not open it. Count the hinges. I crouch. I force my eyes to focus. 4 hinges. A door built for something heavy. A door built for something that pushes. A thin gray line of old salt lies across the threshold, clumped in places. Someone laid it carefully once and never refreshed it, like they hoped the memory of salt would keep working after the mineral stopped being sharp. The doorknob is still. For now. I back away. The brass key in my pocket feels warmer, and the warmth makes me think of fever. I go downstairs. The innkeeper sits in the lounge near the fireplace in a chair angled away from the windows, positioned so she can't accidentally look outside. A thick leather ledger rests on a side table, strapped shut. She keeps a hand near it, the way someone keeps a hand near a knife. She looks up and reads my face. "It showed you," she says. "It did more than show me," I say. "There's a door upstairs, room 9. Her expression barely changes, but her shoulders drop a fraction, like she's accepted a weight she's carried too long. "It's early," she murmurs. "What is it?" I ask. "It's not a room," she says. "It's a remainder." I don't know what that means, but my skin reacts anyway. Gooseflesh lifting, stomach turning with the first edge of panic. I force my voice steady. My name is in the guest book, in my handwriting, dated in the future. For room 9. Her eyes narrow. She pulls the leather ledger closer. You didn't sign, she says again. But now it sounds less like instruction and more like pleading. I didn't, I insist. She studies me until I feel transparent. Then she nods once, like deciding I'm not lying, or deciding it wouldn't matter if I were. You brought the Moore's key into my inn, she says. It was in my pocket, I say. I didn't. Keys are invitations, she says. Some are just made of metal. My gaze drifts to the wall map of the coastline. Yellowed paper, smudged glass, pencil marks, and cramped notes. I recognize the handwriting the way I recognize a voice. Elias Vane. I step closer, drawn without permission. The map has a circle around the inn, a line out toward the moor, another toward the lighthouse. A note in the margin makes my throat tighten when I read it. The inn is a mouth. Do not let it count you, count you. I think of the door with 4 hinges. A mouth needs teeth. I lift the frame off the wall. The innkeeper starts to say something, stops. I flip the frame over. Taped to the back is a brass keyhole plate. An old one, pried from a door. The edges are bent. It matches my brass key in style and color, like a set that got separated. What is this? I whisper. That was here before me, the innkeeper says. Was it Elias's? I ask. Her eyes harden for a moment. Elias came asking questions like you. He thought rules were puzzles. He thought he could solve them. And? I press. She doesn't give me the answer I want. She gives me the one I get. I don't rent room 9, she says. Then why is it here? I ask. It appears when the fog has enough agreement, she says. Agreement with what? I ask, and I hate how small I sound. Her gaze drops to my pocket, to the weight I keep carrying. It calls, she says. If you answer, even a little, if you speak back without knowing you're speaking, it counts that as consent. I remember the mirror, the pressure of words in my head. I shake my head. I didn't answer. Not with your mouth, she says. Cold spreads through me. Not fear, something worse, something like being handled. Why would it write my name? I ask. Because it's learning you, she says. Because it wants to make you easy. Where is Elias? I ask. Her mouth tightens. People don't disappear here. They get misplaced. I stare at her until my eyes sting. Help me. She exhales slowly. I can't stop it. I can only keep it from finishing. How? I ask. She pulls a small jar from beneath the bar. Coarse sea salt, sharp-edged. She sets it down. Take it, she says. Put a fresh line across your threshold. Thick. And? I ask. She hesitates, then adds, don't look down the hallway more than you have to. That last rule sounds like it was written after someone died trying to be brave. I take the salt and head back upstairs, moving carefully, as if the building can feel speed. The hallway is darker than before. Either the lamps have dimmed or the corridor has lengthened. In Gullglass, I'm learning, it can be both. Room 9 is there, of course it is. The sound from inside has changed, not scraping now, softer, like skin sliding against wood, like something pressing its face to the inside of the door and breathing. I don't let myself read the plaque again. I don't let myself look long enough to be caught looking. I reach room 6 and slip inside quickly. I shut the door and turn the lock. My room feels smaller. The air feels wetter, as if fog is seeping through the walls. I kneel and pour salt across the threshold. Not a symbolic sprinkle, a real barrier. Thick, uneven, protective in a way I can measure. Then I glance toward the mirror. The towel and blankets still cover it, tucked tight. I sit on the bed with my back to the mirror and wait. At 1:13 a.m., I hear a knock. not on my door. Down the hallway, room 9, one knock, like a test, then another, then my name is whispered in the corridor. Once. I press my lips together until they hurt. I don't answer. My name comes again, still once at a time, repeated with patience. It's trying to bait me into thinking I'm safe, because it isn't twice. I do not move. At 2:06 a.m., my doorknob turns a millimeter. Not enough to open, enough to tell me something is learning the boundaries. The salt line glints faintly. The doorknob stops. Silence. Hope tries to rise in me, fragile and stupid. Then I hear a page turning. Downstairs, from the guest book. The sound is small, ordinary, and it makes me feel like prey. The air shifts as if the inn has adjusted its posture around me. At 2:47 a.m., the mirror makes a sound, a soft tick, like a fingernail tapping glass from the inside. I keep my back to it. I don't turn. I don't look. I don't give it a face to wear. At 3:07 a.m., I wake. I don't remember falling asleep. I remember being rigid with fear, and then nothing, as if a hand pressed my forehead and pushed me into darkness. My mouth tastes metallic. My tongue is numb from adrenaline and bitter tea. The room is colder. I sit up slowly. The towel is back over the mirror. Not the way I left it. Neatly hung, smoothed, tucked with a carefulness that feels intimate. On the towel, stitched in black thread, are words that weren't there before. Thank you for answering. My stomach drops so hard I feel it in my knees. I didn't answer. I didn't. I lurch out of bed and yank the towel away. The mirror shows me standing there, pale and shaking, fabric clenched in my hands. My reflected mouth is open slightly, as if mid-word. In reality, my mouth is closed. I clamp a hand over my lips. The reflected me smiles, small, knowing. Then the reflection lifts its hand, not my hand, and points toward the door. A knock sounds on my door. One knock, then a second. My name is whispered right outside the wood. Twice. I don't respond. I don't even breathe right. Instead of the handle turning, I hear a door opening in the hallway. Not mine. Room 9. A soft, wet inhale follows, like something smelling the air. Then I hear my own voice from the corridor. My voice, perfectly copied, speaking with casual confusion. Hello? I stare at the door until my eyes ache. I do not speak. My throat locks down like it's protecting me from myself. A pause. Then something answers my voice. Multiple voices layered beneath it, harmonized like a hymn trying to remember the words. The inn reacts. Floorboards creak as if settling into a new stance. Pipes click. Air shifts like a breath drawn in. I understand then, with sick clarity, what the innkeeper meant. It counts that as consent. Not my consent. Something that sounds like me. The salt line at my threshold is disturbed now. A narrow groove runs through it, like a finger dragged across to test, to taste. The barrier is mostly intact, but it's been touched, and the fact that it's been touched feels like an insult. I don't open the door. I don't speak. I slide down to the floor with my back against it and wait for morning like I'm waiting out a siege. Eventually the sounds thin out. The hallway quiets. The air warms by degrees. The inn returns to ordinary noises, a distant kettle, a settling beam, the subdued sigh of sea wind against glass. When I finally leave my room, daylight has weakened the shadows without erasing them. I go downstairs, each step measured. I listen for singing. I listen for my name. The innkeeper stands behind the counter. She looks up and knows. You answered, she says. I didn't, I say. My voice is rough. My throat hurts like I've been talking for hours. She opens the guest book without touching the pages barehanded. She uses a cloth, like the paper burns. She turns the book toward me. A new entry has appeared. Elias Vane, checked in, room 9. My chest tightens until I can't tell if I'm breathing. That's not possible, I manage. It's here, she says. So it's possible. The ink looks fresh, wet, like it was written moments ago. Then I notice something else. Beneath Elias's name, a faint indent in the paper, an impression where someone pressed too hard with a pen. A previous line, erased or never inked. I tilt the guest book toward the light. I can make out the ghost of letters. My name again, under Elias. As if the book is rehearsing an order, as if it's deciding who comes next, from somewhere behind the bar, somewhere I can't see, without leaning far enough to catch my reflection in the mirror that hangs there. A voice speaks my name. Once. The innkeeper doesn't move. I don't move. The building goes still, listening, not to the voice, but to me, waiting for my answer. My hand slips into my pocket and finds the brass key. It's warm now, not warm like metal held too long. Warm like something alive. Outside, fog presses against the windows, patient as tidewater. Upstairs, a door that was never built sits perfectly on 4 hinges, quietly existing, as if it has always belonged to this place, as if it has always been waiting for me. And the guest book remains open on the counter, my name already written in a future that has started to feel less like a warning and more like a schedule. Room 9, not a room, a remainder.